Okay, so Ariel, go ahead and say your intention.
My intention is to create a business and a whole new foundation that is connected to the planet and my higher self, where I can be in co creation with the planet Earth and the products that I make and put out to the world. And that financially supports me and, in joy and peace and love and creatively.
Yeah. Okay. And what is it that's been coming up, or what is it that you want to let go of?
I want to let go of any kind of fear or old pictures surrounding that I have to work for somebody else in order to be financially viable and successful. Any kind of fear of failure or, that it's just not possible for me to create on my own and to be financially successful on my own.
Yeah, and I want us to really look at kind of the programming that you came from as far as with your parents or with your mother, as far as, what her programming is, kind of her picture of what you should be doing, and because that tends to play out sometimes in your relationships and also in what you've created. So can you identify that?
Yeah, her programming is that, or my childhood programming was that I should work a full-time job, 8 to 5, for another company or some kind of business in order to support myself. That's how I have to live my life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and in particular, like a government job or
yeah, a utility company, a government job.
Yeah, something that's safe. And and then too, what has played out when you've worked with these type of companies? When you've gotten to agreement to that, what is the pattern that is really that's happened?
When I've worked for other people or their companies, usually I will go in and try to manage and handle things, and people, most of the time, everybody goes unconscious.
Yeah.
And then I have to manage the business or the people or the group of people, and I try to make changes, and it's exhausting. It's not.
So really that dynamic, and especially even with your mother, kind of how you were in your relationship with her, and even with your sister, and how that played out. What was that relationship like?
The family dynamic was similar in that I, a lot of the times, would manage my mother's emotions or my sister's emotions and things at home.
Yeah.
When they would go unconscious.
Yeah. So. And so I really want you to look at, too, kind of what you got out of that, like as far as where you were extremely competent and when everyone else went unconscious. And just I want you to really identify the position you played there as far as the role you took on and being the competent one, and maybe what did you really get out of that?
Well, I became a enabler, an unconscious enabler, and I just got really proficient at handling people and situations and taking care of everything for everyone and giving a lot of my energy away.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so can you see how that played out in your last jobs? And tell me, what were the people, in a sense, like? What was similar, to... Like if your mother kind of went unconscious and that's the role she played, like how do you create that in situations with maybe relationships that you have or, your employers? What tends to happen, or what does your energy create then in that situation?
Usually it creates a similar situation like with my mother where my boss will go unconscious. And then I have to take over the role of handling everything.
Mm-hmm. And
so,
yeah. And can you really see how that affects the body? Like describe what really happens to the body when you're trying to manage and take care of the whole situation or the employment, she's going unconscious or your boss is going unconscious. And where does that leave you? How does the body feel?
My body becomes exhausted because I will give all of my energy and attention into fixing or changing, handling everything, pushing myself. And then I become tired and exhausted and very heavy energetically, and it makes me want to go to sleep, pretty much.
Yeah. And two, where does it also take you? Kind of to what emotion does it take you when, even in these relationships, like you're having to drag these people along, and then what emotion gets triggered?
Anger, irritation at the unconsciousness and having to take that on.
Yeah. And then how do people respond to your anger? How do they respond? And then what dynamic gets played out then?
Usually if I get angry, a lot of the times people would shut down.
Yeah.
And not respond or go, almost go more unconscious.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And really kind of then that it's your fault. Do you know?
Right.
It's like you were being the bitch.
Yeah. Or like when I was growing up, I was, any story that's told about me, I was always angry.
Yeah. And really I want you to look at your genetic line here too, because a lot of times we're looking for a core picture that gets played out. Kind of that your mother played out, that your grandmother played out, and I'm seeing it on the female line of what core picture played out for maybe your mother and your grandmother of what it's kind of like we always come back to a pain picture that we create from. And what was their pain picture, if you could identify one?
That they were not supported.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they both had spouses that died, that got sick and checked out and died. And so therefore they were not supported and had to do everything on their own.
Yeah. So, we can say too that you've somewhat gotten out of agreement with that because people dying around you.
No. At least they're not dying around me. They may be going unconscious, but they're not dying.
So we can say what's more accurate, though, is that you have the living dead around you. Meaning they may be alive, but there's something about your energy when you go into agreement with them or when you're in relationship with them where they're like dead, where they're completely unconscious. You have to drag them along. And then the body has to go into all this effort to get things done. And we really want to reconcile, and I really want you to look at just how much effort that takes the body. And to reconcile something means you have to take responsibility for how you're creating in this energetic dynamic. Like we can really just say, all right, we can agree that we're an enabler, that we get into a dynamic and you become the mother. In a sense, you become the caretaker. And then people, and just kind of how has that played out even with other people, maybe relationships?
We usually, at a certain point, my partner in the beginning may match me energetically and may seemingly want the same things, but at a certain point, they will go unconscious, and then they don't want that anymore, and they emotionally vacate and check out, and then the relationship slowly unravels.
Yeah.
And then I end up getting frustrated and angry, and then I just end up leaving the relationship.
Yeah. Because you've been abandoned.
Yeah.
And this is a real case of maybe, in a sense, your father died, so that's abandonment. And your grandmother had the same abandonment. Your mother had the abandonment. But it's now with the people that are living around you, there's an abandonment where when their energy checks out, it creates this unconscious space. And then it's like there's another energy that's running through that space, like they're dead, even though, somehow you still remain in it and try to make it work, to, engage. And can we agree that it doesn't really work?
Yeah, it does not work at all. I'm an unconscious enabler, and it does not work.
You enable the living dead. And sometimes we just need to recognize kind of our part and really just see it and not separate from it. Really just see, okay, we enable the living dead, and but in a sense too, you're looking at creating a business here, and and it's so interesting that you were saying, in an earlier session, that your mother calls you every day and says, have you tried to contact the state to get a job with the state? And and that's the programming, kind of daily programming, like get a safe job, and really, what does that represent to you, even a job like that?
That kind of job represents death to me in a sense, because it's death to my creativity and me starting something on my own and me creating with the planet and making product. So working for someone else, just especially the government, just feels very heavy, and just there's no life in it.
Yeah. And there's no energy that your body has enthusiasm about. Like,
no.
Yeah. It's like really death. And it's very interesting that, people in your world tend to ask you to put your attention there on something that's not growing, something that's dead. And so when you look at creating your products, just, talk a bit about your products, kind of that process and what you're creating, and what are your products?
So I create body scrubs and body creams and candles, but it's really when I make something, I've always had a love of herbs, and I look at energetically connecting with the planet, and what do I want to put on my skin, and how do I want to co-create, and I just come up with formulas, not only by scent but energetically, like how it feels to me and what goes into it. I've always had a passion for that, and so that's kind of what goes into my product. But it also has an energetic component, so it can be clearing, but anything that's in it is also edible to a certain degree. There's no chemicals or anything in it.
Yeah, and what I'm seeing too is where, let me just ask you this, because you've been in these relationships with the living dead to a certain degree, because maybe in a sense it has moved you. It's kind of like sometimes we have an exchange with people just because our energy doesn't quite move, and we get into that relationship, have that exchange, bring that unconscious energy in, because then you go into your action. Like your body starts, you became over efficient. You kind of overdo it. And then the exhaustion comes, but it's moved you into action. So can you see, has that played out for you at all?
As far as the unconscious moving me into action?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, because you have to become the caregiver. You have to do everything. You have to, and we can see how that pattern has really played out. Like it's created movement within you. It's not necessarily what we want to create now. But in ways, we continue to do certain patterns because we're trying to move our lives.
Yeah.
And so we'll co-create even with the living dead just because we feel like we're moving and we're, very competent, and, things kind of move forward in a way, or for other people's. Look at all the things that you've created for other people's businesses. Like, what have you done for other people's businesses?
I've created successful practices, or helped people create successful practices for acupuncture, and I helped to co-create a magazine and get more attention on a nonprofit center. So I know that energy moves me, but it also physically exhausts me, and it's caused health issues. Yeah. So that's not really where I don't want to be creating for someone else anymore. I want to be creating for myself.
That's right.
So.
And that's right. And we can really validate here too that it was your energy. Most of your energy generated in these spaces created amazing things.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times too, people will need someone with a lot of energy that's an enabler that will give them the energy to create their dreams, and they're just not even present, or just not quite there. And so this is what you're really reconciling. It's like now you're really taking ownership of I'm going to use my energy to really co-create with the planet, to, really open the heart, because that heart really brings you in that co-creation with the planet, and really giving it to yourself. And so, we're making an agreement here that this energy, is where you're going to have this exchange with the planet, you're going to give it to yourself, and then we get into new agreements with people. And so those agreements are with people like me, like I buy your products, and your products are amazing. And what I even notice about your products is they seal the space. It's like my kids love your products because they seal the field. Because isn't it interesting even that you've created these products as a way of sealing your space? It's kind of like your remedy that you've needed in a way to seal the space, so you don't have all these living dead people around you, or even the dead kind of hooking into you, and really that it replenish you, like it fill you up in a certain way, and that's what I love about your products. And now it's time to fully kind of step into that agreement of, I'm going to give this to myself. It's very easy to give it to somebody else. Because we allow, especially as an enabler, we'll allow people to run their energy through us. And so by you taking, really like focusing on the heart, focusing on that exchange, now here's what I invite you to do is, when you start to notice somebody going unconscious, like a living person, a living dead person going unconscious around you, what can you do? Like, what are you... Like, you have to identify the position, and you got to identify really what your energy is doing. Tell me like a recap of the tool of what you can do to change this dynamic and pattern and collapse it.
I would just, if I notice my energy or attention going out to the unconscious person, I would just pull it back and into my heart, and bring my energy back into myself, and not be in agreement to taking on that energy running in my space.
Yeah, and really, there was a certain probably amount of validation a long time ago when, you were young and you were probably cooking and doing things around the house, and like you got probably a lot of validation for that, of how competent you are. So we're going to let go of being competent so people can validate you. But this is more of, you doing it for yourself, you filling yourself, Right. And also, too, just even in identifying, wow, look at the pattern and look at the people that are starting to go unconscious around me. If you can just be aware of that and it playing out in a moment, you just seeing it, it just collapses the energy. Okay. Because now you're not in agreement to it. You're in agreement to, I'm only in agreement to exchanging and really connecting with people that are moving toward life. Creating products that give life, that provide life, like being with people, and they've got to have their energy show up. So what if you go into an environment, or I don't know, into, somebody's home and they start going unconscious? Maybe, I don't know, they drink, or tell me, what can you do here on a practical level? Like, what do you have to do?
Well, I have to be aware of my energy and what it's doing. And really just be focused on my heart and giving back to myself, and just be aware, like, okay, that person's unconscious. They're drinking, they're going unconscious. And I can choose not to be in that space. I can leave. Or I can just notice, like, okay, that person's, in a pattern, or they're unconscious.
And here's what I really want you to notice, because here is the tendency. If people go unconscious, you start going into action. Like, you'll probably start cooking, you'll start doing things, you'll start being
cleaning,
like, overly efficient. Now, if we start to do that, can we identify it and see, oh my God, look at me. Like, it is an automatic response. And if you do it, own it, do it, see it. And just by even going through it, you're going to really look at how, in a way, you've been scammed out of your energy. And how you unconsciously were creating. Like, and it moved you in action. And just even, like, really identifying that can bring you into a whole new space because your products are very conscious. Like your products are like alive. Like I use them on my body in the shower, but I eat them too.
Yeah.
You know, and my dog takes a shower too. So a lot of times with me, it licks it off my leg, or he's licking it off my son's leg when he gets out of the shower. Yeah.
I know, my dogs do that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's really like a very core picture. So when it comes down to it, I want you to really kind of look at the pictures in the moment, look at the players, and look at the dynamic that's set up. Here we go again. And you'll start to see maybe automatically. It takes about 3 times to really identify kind of like, oh, I'm the enabler, I'm playing this out, to see it, to collapse it, you know, and to see the sides you play, to bring it in the heart, create really that infinity loop, and boom, drop it into the earth. And really be asking to the heart, what kind of products can you really create here to seal people's space, really from where energies of unconscious energy start running through them? Because like when we're in exchange with people, a lot of people allow other people to run energy through them. And when we do this, we get sick. When we do this, our lives don't quite create, and they're using our energies to really create whatever they're wanting. So it's on a very unconscious level. But if we can really see what's going on, we change it for ourselves and then for the world. Yes. Because this is how we take responsibility for what we're doing and what we've created in the world. And so that is a great picture of really seeing how you have worked with the living dead.
How to work with the living dead 101.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So anything else you want to add, or do you want to even, give a testimonial of anything that you and I've created of how this work has helped you, and maybe what you've just created on your new foundation?
There's so many things. I think that through working with you, that I have a greater connection energetically, just connecting with the planet on a daily basis and with my higher self, which helps me to really be in connection with Mother Earth, which helps me get, outside and garden more and create more products. And even from an energetic standpoint, when I make the products, like how you say it seals it, like that's part of it when I start making it, of the like a matrix, so to speak, like how I look at things. But just, the awareness, and it is huge in going through, the unconscious enabler is just the next step in my evolution.
That's right. And what's your business called?
Nick and Bo Apothecary.
Yeah. Great. All right, Ariele. So thank you. Thank you for sharing and the session. And
thank you.
And we'll be talking soon.
Okay.
So power in the heart.
Power in the heart.
All right. Love you.
Okay, love you. Bye.
All right. Bye.